But can I tell you, Scott, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and okay, safe, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
And welcome in. It's in-game live game day on this terrific Thursday evening. Scott Wetzel, Joe Madden for the next 2 glorious hours, right up until 10 p.m. Eastern time, watching, analyzing the world of sports. Little baseball. When I say little, I mean little. One baseball game going on, but that's okay. We still got plenty to talk about. Peace in the Valley, great little song. Life in the NHL, believe it or not. Last man standing in MLB. Caitlin Clark is sitting, unfortunately. But we do have some MLB over-unders to get to, Joe. So we got some SGPs coming up here in a little bit. We got a little CFL action as well. So we got a couple things we can put some shekels on tonight. How you doing this evening, Joe?
I'm doing pretty good. Just going over the earlier games. And man, did we have some blowouts in some of those earlier games today. The Cubs beating the St. Louis Cardinals 3-0. We also saw the Tampa Bay Rays getting that 4-0 win over the Kansas City Royals. Toronto Blue Jays actually holding off the Cleveland Guardians today, 6-0 win. The Detroit Tigers, 8-0 win over the A's. And it looks like the Minnesota Twins, top of the ninth here, are going to hold the Seattle Mariners off the board. They're leading this one 10-0. So a lot of teams that just didn't show up today in their matchup. Scott, how's your day been so far?
Yeah, I didn't play it, but I do preach this all the time about these getaway day games. The unders just kick in because, guys are just up there swinging the bat. They got to hop on a plane for those that are, flying elsewhere, even for the ones that are staying at home. Have a rare night off where they can be at home with the family and friends and everything else. So it's just a lot of quick games, Joe, and a lot of low-scoring games because they're all swinging at the first, second pitch. And lo and behold, if you use that philosophy today, you went 6-2 under. You had San Fran, which we'll get into here in a second, against Miami. That went over. But Dodgers-Rockies 3-1 in Colorado, a 3-1 game with the Dodgers right under. Cubs 3-0 over the Cardinals under. Rays under. Astros, Phillies under. Your Blue Jays that you talked about 6-0 under. Even Detroit 8-0 over the A's ended up going under. So Mariners, by the way, just put the kiss of death on Seattle. They did score a run, so they're not going to be held off the board. How about that? 10-1 they trail. And then even the Mets and Braves, on pace for an under, even though, don't ask why, but I played the over. I put a little parlay and runs, hits, errors. FanDuel doesn't offer that prop. Out of all the thousands of things they offer, for some reason, they don't offer that one. A lot of other sites do. So I had 3 teams. I played 2 unders. I played Phillies Astros under, hits, runs, and errors. It was like 24.5. That one way under. Rays in Kansas City, I had 29.5. That one way under. And I just thought the Mets and Braves were going to score some runs tonight. Griffin Canning was on the hill for the Mets before he decided to blow his Achilles out. And I just figured this has got like 6-5, bunch of hits, bunch of runs over it and over it. But we had no score naturally heading to the 4th inning.
Well, I'm really disappointed because I had Canning there for over on his strikeouts, over 4.5 strikeouts, and he came out nice and strong before that injury, was able to put 3 strikeouts on the board. And I do think if he would have stayed in this game, stayed healthy, he would have nicely cleared that 4.5, at least hit 5. I was looking for more like 6 with what he's been able to do versus that Braves lineup in the past. But too bad for us as bettors, and too bad for him that he's taken this injury because he has looked better this season than we've seen him in past. So that's going to be a hard loss for the New York Mets. We've got a total live now, Scott, of 5.5. Would you be willing to go under this? I don't think I can. I'd look at the over 5.5 at plus 102.
Yeah, Mets just had a couple of runners on and couldn't score, or maybe there's a I think they got out, so they're getting to the top of the 4th. I would probably still go over, although Canning's not in the game, so that philosophy of him getting lit up because he's given up 5 or 4 runs in his last 3 starts or more, and 5 innings or less work, which is why I thought we'd get some hits and some runs tonight. But I'd probably still go over the 5.5. I still think we're going to get some runs, even though we've had all these unders so far today. How about the surprise to me, Joe? Today is San Francisco. Little quirky thing here, and I'm sure it's just coincidence, right? But since the Rafi Devers trade to San Francisco, if you throw out the Red Sox-Giants game, which obviously someone has to win, both teams are now a combined 0-6. Red Sox got swept by the Angels, and somehow or another, I don't know how, but Miami went into San Francisco and swept the Giants. I'm guessing, I'll look it up here when you respond, but I'm guessing that's the first road sweep for Miami all season. I mean, they're a horrible team, right?
So.
And they went into San Fran and swept them. So coincidence, or is there something to the Rafi Devers trade that has put a black cloud over the Red Sox and Giants?
I can't say it's Devers' fault at all. I don't think he is the problem. They're just not clicking out there. And for the Marlins to be able to get this done, they were a plus 150 underdog coming into today's games. I can't remember what they were in those last couple, but they've been an underdog in each and every case. And I looked at that line today and I went, I don't want anything to do with it. I couldn't take Miami. I just couldn't. I couldn't put my money there. I wish I had now. What a dominant win, too. 12-5 over the Giants. And I don't think it's Devers. Do you really think it's Devers? Is he giving the kiss of death here to the San Francisco Giants?
Who knows? Maybe. I mean, I'm looking. Miami did take 3 from Washington on the road, but that almost doesn't count Washington, right? They did take 2 out of 3 from the LA Angels on the road. Other than that, they haven't won even 2 games, let alone 3 on the road. So this is their second scoop. I will say this is their 4th straight win. And then, they've scored a bunch of runs for whatever reason. They put 4 on the board to win 4-2 on Monday or Tuesday. They win 8-5 in extra innings last night, and then they put 12 runs on the board in a 12-5 game today. It's one thing for them to win, but they've scored 24 runs in 3 games. So, Rafi Devers, last time I checked, isn't pitching, Scott. So it's probably not him, but I just do think it's funny that neither team has yet to win a baseball game outside of the ones that they played this season since the trade.
Yeah, it's really a solid coincidence out there, Scott, for sure. I definitely don't think he really has anything to do with the Giants' losses. But it would be nice if they could turn things back around. And I do think Devers really adds a key piece for this Giants team. What are your thoughts on the Giants going into the rest of the season here with Devers as soon as they start turning it around? Do you think they're going to start clicking pretty quick?
I kind of doubt it. I mean, I have my doubts about that team. Their lineup still isn't very good. It isn't. Their pitching's okay, but I think they're going to end up being a 500 team. Give them credit for making the trade and add on the salary and everything, and then basically trading away the bag of balls. But ultimately, I still see them behind, really, even San Diego and the Dodgers. So big series sweep for the Astros. Speaking of series sweeps, right? I mean, what a great National League versus American League matchup that was. Houston at home against Philadelphia. The antithesis, I mean, they had to combine. What would have been the over-under adjusted odds, Joe? 3 games. Philly's good team, obviously. Astros good team, obviously. They combined for 6 runs in 3 games. 1-0, 2-0, and 2-1 today.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It really is. Like, I cannot believe the Astros were able to win such low-scoring games out there versus the Phillies. Because you look at the Phillies lineup, you look at how strong those bats have been, and both of these teams just played fantastically out there. So Houston to get the sweep, that was crazy. They were such a big favorite today going in. I believe it was like minus 150. That total was low at 7. I rode with the under, Scott, and I'm glad I did. I was kind of nervous though. I was like 4-3. At least that's a push.
Yeah, I did too, and I don't go under 7 too often. It's tough. I mean, it's very easy to get 7 runs all by accident. So, but I just didn't think they would get 8. So I kind of told myself, all right, they might get 7, 4, 3, like you said, but are they really going to get 8 runs? I kind of doubt it. So, baseball, little CFL, little WNBA on our plate tonight, right here on the grid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Pages. Let's get lucky.
Hey, and welcome back. It is in-game live game day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, hour number one of our 2-hour extravaganza. We normally have the our 5 on the line last segment, and then we recap it here this segment, but there's no games. We got one baseball game, we got one CFL game, we got one WNBA game that's in progress, and then one more later on. And, if it's not there, it's not there. So it's just not there. But we still have a bunch of games, and we got some trends and different things that we'll pass along over the next hour and a half or so, Joe. So we got the baseball. Just to kind of recap that one, bottom of the fourth they go. Still no score. Braves and Mets, I'm sitting on over 26.5 runs, hits, and errors. That is, like I said, FanDuel doesn't offer that for some goofy reason. Most sites do. I'm not sure why they don't, but I like that bet, Joe, versus an under 7. Like today, I actually played both, with the Phillies and Astros game, but I can't tell you how many times I've seen a game have 8 runs, right, but not get to 25 runs, hits, and errors. That's a lot more. I mean, that's a 5-3 game, and that's still needing 17 hits. If you get 17 hits in a game, chances are pretty good you're probably going to get more than 8 runs. So I like that. We could always do that comparison. Can I get to 8 runs and not go over the 26.5? Yes. Can I get to 27 but not go under or not go over 7? No, not really. It's different. So I like actually more the runs, hits, and errors bets if your site offers them.
Yeah, and I think it's a great way to go. I haven't been able to find a site, Scott, that I deal with that does offer them like that. And I think it's a great way to be able to really drill into those players and get your best opportunity of cashing your bets. So I love you're able to get it. I just wish I was able to too.
Yeah, but this is one time, like, I hedge all the time, right? So did I hedge today? Because I had the 2 early ones. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to hedge. I got the game on. I'm going to have the show with Joe. I got to have some rooting interest. So why hedge? Why guarantee yourself some money, right? When you could have the aggravation of losing a 3-team parlay that pays 10-1. Why do that? Or 6-1, actually, 6-1. So why do that? So we got 5 so far. We need a breakout inning. Some big innings, bunch of errors. They do tend to add up pretty quickly, but you just don't get that many hits in baseball games these days. That's why all these batting averages, Joe, are all 250, right? I mean, used to be the benchmark 300. Now it's like if you hit 280, oh my God, you're the greatest player in the history of mankind. Dodgers, Rockies that had a combined 11, 12, 14. Cubs and Cardinals today had a combined 15. Rays and Royals, that was 29.5. That's at a very high number. Most are in the 25 to 27, 28 range. Royals and Devil Dogs had 18. Astros, Phillies had 14. I mean, they're just, nobody's hitting the baseball these days. Blue Jays game had 18. So right now it's 5. 2 hits for the Braves, 2 hits for the Mets, and 1 error for the Mets as they play bottom of the 4th inning. So hopefully the Mets can put 3 or 4 runs on the board and get some hits, runs, RBIs. WNBA, we got the 2 games. One that's going to start at 10 o'clock Eastern time. We got Indiana and the LA Sparks playing right now. 3rd quarter, midway through. Indiana without Caitlin Clark. She's not playing today. She's got a groin injury. They're leading at 45 to 42, actually. It was 45 a second ago. All right, maybe they took a basket away. 42-40. Fever leading, laying 3.5. They're obviously halfway decent. Although they have not had a great year this year. Picked up a nice road win the other day in Seattle. We hit with the over on our Black Cloud play of the day, in fact, on Tuesday with that. But only leading by 2 today, Jill. Do you have any action or any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I looked at this game without Caitlin Clark in the lineup here for the Indiana Fever, and I just thought it was too many points for them to be able to come out and cover. And I know in some of these games, she hasn't been hitting the baskets like we would have liked to have seen, but she is such a strong force on this team. So I grabbed the Sparks plus the points in this one. It was plus 5.5 when I was able to get it. Now with how tight they've held the game, that spread has dropped to 3.5. I'm not sure if I'd jump on at 3.5. I actually just saw it move back to that 5.5. So plus 5.5 at minus 125, Scott, is where I'd jump. I also looked at this one still to go over. I did think this was going to be that higher scoring game out there, but that total was 167. We've got a live number here of 142. and a half for that total. So it doesn't look like they're on pace to hit that original over, but 140, 142 and a half, it's bouncing around between those, Scott. I would take a chance on the over live now.
Okay. We might get our first run for the Mets. Shot off the wall, or is it second and third? Second and third. All right. Oh, first and third. Oh, the guy didn't even get to second base. The guy missed a home run by like 3 feet or 2 feet and off the wall, and he doesn't even get to second base. Alonso, killing me here. Killing me. So I actually like Indiana, Joe. They've been playing okay even without Caitlin Clark, and she's really been like awful for the most part since her injury. She came back, played a couple of games, so they're actually a halfway decent team. It's up to 5.5 now. That I wouldn't do. It was 3.5 a moment ago. But if it gets down to in that 2.5, 3.5 point range, I don't think they're going to lose to the Sparks. Sparks have lost 4 in a row. They're not any good. They're 4-10, 4-11 actually straight up, 5-10 against the spread. As I mentioned, they lost 4 in a row. They lost to Chicago. Chicago, which is just awful. And they lost at Chicago the other day. So I'll take my chances. If you get that number, anything lower than 4, I would grab the Fever, but now it's 4.5. That's pretty tempting. Whatever you were going to bet, I'd put a half a shekel on Indiana right now, laying 4.5. And I wouldn't touch the over under with 140.5. Obviously, this game is not a lot of Indiana usually scores a ton of points, but obviously not tonight. So we'll stay off that one. Quick little break. We got some SGPs. We do have some hockey news. Boy, I don't know what the NHL Players Association is doing. Some of the agreements that they apparently made, including having more regular season games, is just mind-boggling to me. And then they cut we'll talk about it when we come back, and then they limited how long of a contract they could sign. I mean, very bizarre. So that's coming up. SGP, same-game parlays, coming up next as well.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis, because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say, yeah, I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't, but yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe Madden until 10 p.m. Eastern Time, watching, analyzing, betting on the world of sports. And what better do the way to bet? A little same game parlay, which, yes, we actually put two together. Believe it or not, little SGP time. All right, I'll go first, Joe. I'm going to use the late WNBA game, Washington at Las Vegas, the Aces. Aces, the better team. Well, not by much, but they are at home. I get all that. But I'm going to start with Washington. I'll take the Mystics, playing good ball. They've won 2 in a row, coming off a win or a cover anyway against Minnesota. So grab them plus the 7.5. That's, you know what, that's a pretty fat number for two teams that are, to me, fairly equal. I'll go over 160 Washington at Las Vegas. I know this number has come down. It was 162 over. Then it dropped to 161 when I woke up this morning, and now it's down to 160. I still think we're going to get some points. It's hard for me to bet an under in a WNBA game. They do score. So give me the over 160. Got to go with Jackie Young, 15 points or more. She averages over 18.5 at minus 180. Got to go with Aja Wilson, 6 rebounds. She's the best player on the court and probably in the WNBA. She gets that easily. It's minus 1350. I only put that in there thinking, all right, it's going to bump at 50 points, but it actually bumped the odd payout over 100 points. So I'm like, okay, I won't fool around with her points. Give me Wilson for 6 rebounds. And then this Kiki Irafin, is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. All I know is I have a daughter named Kiki, so I'm going to go put her in my SGP. It's one of those nights. Give me 8 rebounds for Kiki at minus 116. Add it all up, and I'm really kind of turning Washington and over 2.5 to 1 parlay into a 7.5 to 1 parlay, because I think those other 3 props will hit very easily.
I love where you're going with that, Scott. And I love that your daughter's name's Kiki, and so you use that as one of your legs. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm that kind of person,
nights.
right? I'm that kind of person.
Why not? It's a
Yeah.
little hunch.
Exactly. So I do the same thing. I see a name that really pops out because of a family member, and then I have to add it, especially when you see it like that. But that is a great same game parlay. I'm going to look at the CFL. So there's a game in the CFL tonight, you guys. The Edmonton Elks taking on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And on paper, this should be cut and dry. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers should come out and just steamroll over the Edmonton Elks, but I don't think it happens. And I'm going to talk a bit about the scheduling situation after I give you out the parlay, because the scheduling spot for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I think, has the recipe for an upset here by an Edmonton Elks team that's lost their last 12 straight versus Winnipeg. The last time they actually beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers was back in November 3rd, 2018, when they won 33-40 or 33-24. So we're going to have faith that all these trends get broken tonight because of the scheduling spot for Winnipeg. We'll take the Edmonton Elks plus the 10.5. We're going to do 2 parlays. I've got 2 numbers for you. We'll do the first one. The first one's a nice one. We'll look at the over 51.5. We're going to see points between these two teams, especially if Edmonton can do what they expect, at least what I expect. And then I'm going to look at the running backs here. Justin Rankin here for the Edmonton Elks. He's got a rushing prop of 53.5. I'll take that to the over. He's averaging 5.3 yards per carry and 8.5 yards per catch. So they're using him in both situations. And I do think we're going to see a lot of work out of him here on the ground. They're going to have to establish that run game so they can give Trey Ford the opportunity to throw that ball nice and deep on the secondary here of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And then we're going to look at Matthew Peterson here for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers over his rushing prop. That number coming in at 47.5, minus 114 to the over. You look at Peterson, he stepped in for Brady Oliveira of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and he's been great. He's put up 172 yards, 2 touchdowns already, stepping up for him. So we look at those 4 legs together, and they give you great odds. It's just over 8 to 1. But one thing you can do, if you want to make this a really long shot parlay, you can add Trey Ford, the quarterback here, for the Edmonton Elks in to get a touchdown at plus 370. It takes this one to 33.83 to 1. So it is a great way to look. I really do think Trey Ford will get in the end zone. The safer one is leaving him out, of course, but I like both of them, Scott. I got money on both.
Yeah, that's worth a couple shekels, right? No matter what you were going to put on the first one, put a little aside, even if you don't want to put extra. You just take a little bit off that one and put that one in there. That's a big jump up from 8.5 to 33-1. So nice job, Joe. SGP's in the books. Mark Zinno joins us next on some sports here on the Grid.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll fall off. He'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't, but yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Scott and Joe Madden until 10 p.m. Eastern Time, watching a little sports action. Just to update the one game that actually 2 games really we have going on. Mets lead the Braves 1-0, top of the 5th inning, scoring a run in the bottom of the 4th. That's the only one they got, despite having a couple of runners on base. Now it's minus 240. Over-under is still 5.5. They're up to 7 as far as our runs, hits, and errors are concerned. We're matriculating the ball, as Hank Stram once said, slowly but surely, but we got a ways to go before we hit our 27. Then in the 4th quarter, now they enter Indiana in the WNBA, leading the LA Sparks 58-50. Now laying 8.5. So hopefully you took a little nibble at that 4.5. And the over-under is 149.5 as they enter the 4th. No Caitlin Clark tonight. So let's talk a little baseball with a good buddy, Sports Grid Radio TV host. You see it here all the time here on the Grid, Mark Zinno. What's going on, Mark? How are you tonight? Any action on Mets and Braves? It's the only thing on the board except for the WNBA.
I did take the first 5. I took the Braves on the money line in the first 5. I was kind of concerned. I think it actually worked out better for the Mets that Griffin Canning got injured and got hurt. Not to wish poorly upon him, but this is a guy over his last 4 starts that's given up 14 runs. Over his last 3 starts, given up 14 runs. So he's been banged around a lot. The guy that started the beginning of this year that looks so good is not the guy that's shown up over the past month. Part of the reason for the Mets' June swoon, as they say. But he came out after just 2 2/3, and now the Mets bullpen, which is very good, is taken over. So we got a tight one here. But I'll need the Braves to score something here in the top of the 5th to try and cash. But nonetheless, it looks like it's going to be a very low-scoring game.
Yeah, let's see what we can get out of the Atlanta Braves. Were you shocked with the low-scoring win that we got out of the Houston Astros today, winning that one 2-1 over the Phillies and getting the sweep in all low-scoring games, Mark?
I mean, the Phillies scored 1 run in the entire series. If you would have told me going in that the Astros is going to score 5 runs the entire series, I probably would have bet the Phillies all 3 games and said I'll settle for 2 out of 3. And that's not even close to what happened. Phillies just, ran into a buzzsaw of pitching between Hunter Brown today. They had Framber Valdez the other night. I mean, it's just been really, really unfortunate. They've wasted some really good starts. And, I know Bryce Harper's been in and out of the lineup and a little bit banged up, but nonetheless, this is a Phillies team that should be putting up more runs than 1 over the course of a 3-game span. So I think they break out at some point in time as you look to the rest of the weekend series coming up.
Yeah. Mark, you're buying into the Astros because I'm starting to buy into them. They're playing good ball. They get some terrific hitters. They're the third choice behind the Yankees and Tigers at plus 410 to win the league. And then even in the World Series, their odds are still 11-1, and that's actually down from I saw 12-1 earlier today. So it's the same old kind of Astros team, just kind of hanging around, and then they emerge second half of the year, and then you start looking at them in the postseason with Valdez and Hunter Brown. Well, if Hunter Brown continues to pitch like this, that's a dynamic 1-2 punch.
I mean, it's been the same story for the last 2 years, right? They've stunk in April and May, and they've really started to turn it on in June, and nobody in the AOS is really ready to take advantage of a bad 2 months by the most experienced and most professional team in the division. And that's really the problem. I mean, again, it goes back to that old adage that, you can't win the pennant in April, but you certainly can lose it. And by teams not taking and getting a bigger lead and creating a bigger hole for the Astros to dig out of, that's part of the problem here. So taking the Astros at this point in time, even to win the AL West, is not a bad proposition. I don't know if they're good enough to win the American League at this point, but I would have to think still they're the team to beat in the AL West. Just like last year, they ended up overtaking Seattle or Texas, whoever was in first place when we got around to an August timeframe. They overtook it and never looked back, and that's really what it boils down to. I mean, you see the numbers there. I can't believe they're still that heavy of a favorite the way they played the first 2 months. So it'll be interesting to see how the Astros end up turning out.
Yeah, definitely will. Now, let's look at tomorrow's action. The New York Yankees are at home taking on the A's. This is going to be interesting to see if the Yankees can get those bats hitting and hitting nicely. We know Judge has been getting a couple hits here and there, a couple home runs, but this team has been struggling to produce with their bats. Can they get something done versus Mitch Spence tomorrow of the A's?
Spence has actually been better on the road than he is at home. He's got a 5.65 ERA in Sacramento and a 2.1 ERA. And the batting average opposing is 80 points lower on the road. Only 1 of his 6 home runs has been allowed on the road this year, but he is playing in the bandbox at his Yankee Stadium. And the Yankees are also starting Will Warren, who's easily going to give up 4 or 5 runs. That's kind of just what his MO is. This is not a major league pitcher, and the Yankees keep trotting him out there every 5 days, probably because they have nobody else to replace him. But the point simply is, I kind of like the over. I have to believe the Yankees at some point are going to snap out of this, and them coming back home maybe exactly what this lineup needs for some of these other guys not named Aaron Judge to start producing here. But you look at Will Warren, his numbers to the over this year are pretty substantial. So at 8.5, I'm willing to roll the dice.
How about Tampa Bay and Baltimore? I don't know too many people that if I asked at the beginning of the season, Mark, and if I said who's got the 3rd best record in the American League, they would give me Tampa Bay. But that is the case. They're just a half a game behind the Yanks in the AL East. They're record-wise 2 games behind Houston and the Yankees for the 3rd best record. And they could really, maybe even more importantly, put a nail in Baltimore's coffin if it's not already there. They're in 1st or 2nd place. Baltimore's in 3rd, or last place, rather. If they win 3, then that's basically it for me for Baltimore. But what do you make of Tampa Bay in that series?
Well, look, Tampa Bay in the month of June is the 2nd highest batting average. They've scored the 2nd most runs. This is a team that's bats finally woke up in the month of June for them to start scoring. Now, the Orioles, who I thought were literally dead and going to be one of the worst teams in baseball, have sort of turned it on here in the month of June. How much do you trust Tomoyuki Sagano at home really is what this boils down to, because it's a question of can they stop Tampa from scoring. Sagano's given up a lot of home runs this year, 14 of them, in fact, in 15 starts. And Camden Yards is a pretty hitter-friendly ballpark here. That's why this total is set at 9.5. But Ryan Pepiot is one of those guys whose expected ERA is way higher than 3.5, whereas regular ERA, or 3.04 rather, whereas regular ERA sits. And the Orioles tend to score more at home than they do on the road. It is kind of telling, though, the number here that Tampa's only a minus 125 favorite. I wouldn't discount the Orioles here in this matchup. And coming off a sweep on the road of a bad KC team, Maybe Tampa Bay is set up for a little bit of a letdown here, continuing to stay out on the road. And oh, by the way, again, Tampa played today. The Orioles did not. And that's always an advantage for the rested team here in the spot. Maybe the line is what that's reflecting here, but probably be a stay away in this game for me because the number just smells a little too fishy. With what you said, Scott, you feel like Tampa should be a 150, 160 favorite, $1.50, $1.60 favorite in this spot. And it's only about $1.15 or $1.25. So it's one of those lines that raises my eyebrow a little bit and says, might not want to back the Rays in this spot here.
I like where you're going with that. I just wanted to throw a question about the Toronto Blue Jays out there. People starting to talk about this team, that they have playoff hopes. What are your thoughts on the Toronto Blue Jays? They seem to lose games that they should win. They just came off a series versus the White Sox in their last one out, had their struggles there, got a nice big win today, though, and now they'll be taking on the Boston Red Sox for their next series in Boston. Do you think Toronto has an opportunity to make the playoffs this season, Mark?
Well, if the Yankees keep playing the way they are and they're not winning, that's going to be something to look out for with Toronto. Look, Toronto's problem, and I know they just came off a road series where they played pretty well, but they're great at home. They're just bad on the road. And this is a team right now still with a negative run differential on the season. It's -1, but it tells you that they're probably not as good as their overall record suggests, being 6 games above 500 at this point and challenging for the top of the AL East. That said, when you look at this matchup against Boston right here, this is a Red Sox team that absolutely, since the Rafael Devers trade, is not hitting and not scoring. They have the second lowest batting average in baseball since that trade happened, and they're not scoring. And Brian Bayo is a perfect pitcher to fade, whether he's at home or on the road. Now, the Red Sox have scored a lot. He averages over 6 runs of support per start. And Berrios obviously is a little bit of a different pitcher away from the Rogers Center. So it starts to become a little bit of a diminishing returns here. But I would lean Toronto in this spot just because I don't trust the Red Sox lineup.
Yeah, we said it earlier, Mark. Red Sox and Giants, since the trade, have yet to win. If you take out the 3-game series between the two teams since the Devers trade, 0-6 combined. Mark, great job as always, man. We'll do it again soon. Thanks.
Okay.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis, because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't, but yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe. Thanks again to Mark Sitto for joining us, as he does from time to time. SportsGrid Radio, TV, and host. You see all the time here on the grid. So still 1-0 Mets. We'll keep you posted on that. How about a little golf? We got the Rocket Mortgage Classic going on up in Detroit. They're all shooting Wetzel-like scores, -10, -9, -8. So let's bring in our guy, Brady Cannon. What's going on, Brady? How are you tonight?
I knew you were a stick, Scott. We got to get out and play, and you're giving me 5 aside.
Yeah, sure. After the first 3 holes, maybe that's it. Who are these? I won't even try and pronounce the one guy's name, but they're shooting great.
Yeah.
That's for darn sure. I mean, man, -10 is your leaderboard after the first round. And that's are these guys playing great, or is the course that easy?
A little of both. Yeah. I mean, we have been really through a gauntlet on the PGA Tour. The last 7 weeks, we've had 2 major championships and 3 signature events. And it's kind of nice that the players get a little bit of a reprieve here. A couple of good old-fashioned birdie fests on the schedule here in Detroit, and then next week in Illinois for the John Deere Classic as well, before we fast forward over across the pond to the Scottish Open and the British Open, of course, the last major championship of the season. Aldrich Potgieter is who you're talking about there. Shot a 62 along with Kevin Roy. And I tell you what, both of these guys, I looked at, what they did. They're both playing really well. It's not like they were just relying on a hot putter. I mean, their ball striking was fantastic. Off the tee with the irons, the putter, the whole game was really firing for both of these guys. And, if that holds up, they're probably going to go on to win this thing. So maybe they're worth an in-game play at this point. And I also noticed that both of these guys have done well at other golf courses where it's just kind of a bomb and gouge, grip it and rip it theory. Potgieter is the #1 player on the PGA Tour for driving distance. He is a bomber. Wow. And at this particular tournament in Detroit, it has mostly been dominated by bombers. Bryson DeChambeau won here when he was a member of the PGA Tour. Tony Finau, Cam Davis, the Australian, twice. Those guys all hit it a mile, and both of these guys do too here at the top of the board. So not necessarily a surprise there. We'll see if they can hang on.
So Brady, coming into this one today, who were the favorites and how are they doing right now? And are you shocked with where they're sitting?
I'm not shocked. The 3 biggest names in the field this week are Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay, and Keegan Bradley. Bradley coming off of the win last week at the Travelers. Morikawa, he did everything really well today, but literally was the worst putter in the field. 156th out of 156 players for strokes gained putting. He lost over 4.5 strokes to the field with the putter. And I don't know what it is about Morikawa. It's been the last couple of seasons that he's come close to winning, but he just doesn't seem to have the mentality to slam the door shut these days. He can't finish. He quote unquote blew the lead at the Bay Hill, the Arnold Palmer Invitational earlier this year. He's not a guy I want to bet on right now. And then the other 2, Cantlay did pretty well, shot a 6-under round today, and Bradley a 4-under round today. But I don't really think I'm going to run to the window with either of those guys, Joe, because you're paying a premium because they're the marquee names in the field. I think you're probably going to get a longer shot this week. And Potgieter and Roy are a couple of guys that I would look at. A couple of others, Lee Hodges, and Davis Thompson at 45 and 28 to 1 respectively. And then a bigger name, a major champion, Matt Fitzpatrick is there at 55 to 1, who, didn't do too poorly today, was really good on approach, but he, like Morikawa, just could not make a putt. And Fitzpatrick is typically a pretty darn good putter. So if his putter comes around in the next 3 days, he could be a guy that's live at a pretty juicy price right now.
What do you make, Brady, of Morikawa firing his caddy for the second time in 3 months, heading into this tournament?
It seems like it's all a part of the storyline for Colin Morikawa right now. The guy can't find harmony with his game, with his caddy, with reporters. He lashed out at a reporter at a press conference earlier this week, and I'm not necessarily taking Morikawa at fault. He felt the reporter kind of threw him under the bus for something that he didn't do or didn't say. And so, but it kind of adds to the distraction and the uncertainty and the lack of consistency in his game and his, and where he is right now on the PGA Tour. So again, it's not a guy that I want to bet on until I see some more stability, Scott.
I like where you're going there. It's a great point on him. We're looking at some live action Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. It will all start. Jon Rahm is the favorite. He's plus 480 to get it done. Can Jon Rahm do it?
I hope he can. I'm on him. I bet him at plus 550. It's interesting with the live. I mean, you've got Jon Rahm, who I think is currently the second best player in the world to Scheffler. Bryson DeChambeau might be the third or fourth best player. And you're competing against 45 other guys or so in the field. And I think maybe only a dozen of them or so really have a chance. So, I did really well betting outrights on the live circuit last year. Haven't hit one yet this year, but you got to just playing the percentages. It seems easier. I went with Rahm. I almost went with both Rahm and DeChambeau. It's like, if the Yankees and the Red Sox are playing Scott Topeka High, who's going to win, right? So I went with Rahm at plus 550, and then I went a little bit deeper. Sebastian Munoz, he should be in the neighborhood of about 25 to 1. Maybe you can find him a little better than that. He is absolutely one of the best players on this tour. This course is about 20 minutes north of Dallas, and the Green Wave of North Texas University, this is their home course, and Munoz went there, so he's very familiar with this track. And then finally, Taylor Gooch, got him at a big number. We'll see if he can find his way back into the winner's circle. So Gooch, Munoz, and Rahm at Merido in Dallas.
I like that local angle. We saw that last week with Keegan Bradley, right? Winning
there you go.
Upstate New York. So, yeah. All right, quick little break. We're not that far away, just a few weeks from the Open Championship, otherwise known as the British Open for us old fogies. We'll talk that when we come back.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't, but yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe talk with our good buddy Brady Cannon, SportsGrid Radio TV host. You see it here all the time here on the grid. Normally, we would have our Black Cloud play of the day, but quite frankly, there's no games. We got one WNBA game. I didn't, I broke it down a little bit, but there's a special honor being on the Black Cloud, and I really just didn't like it that much. So we'll have a play on it a little bit later on. But other than that, that's it. Just one baseball game. Mets still on top 2-0 now. They scored another run in the bottom of the fifth inning. So since we got Brady here, you know what? The Open Championship, otherwise known, Brady, as the British Open, not that long ago they changed that. Now it's called the Open Championship. That's about 3-4 weeks away in mid-July. No surprise, right? Scotty Scheffler is your odds-on favorite at plus 380. McIlroy at 650 is your second choice, and then John Rahm at 12-1, your third choice. Overall thoughts on the Open Championship?
Well, we're going back to Royal Portrush, just the third time that they have hosted an Open Championship in the course's history, and it's a beautiful property. I actually thought about maybe trying to make it here. I do want to go to an Open Championship. It's on my bucket list, and this is, seaside, the beach, and that type of thing in Northern Ireland. And, that's the home country of Rory McIlroy, and he infamously, I guess, missed the cut when they had it here in 2019. Sometimes it does that to you. You play like this home game.
Yeah, I had him.
Yeah, and he didn't even make the cut.
Didn't even make the cut.
Right.
One of my worst bets.
I tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again. You might go the other way and bet him to miss the cut this year. I mean, it's really odd that a guy that just completed the career Grand Slam and maybe won the best Masters we've ever seen is going through seemingly this turmoil. And I don't know, it's just kind of odd and it's unfortunate, but maybe that's the bet to make. His fellow Irishman, Shane Lowry, of course, won in 2019. I played John Rahm. I've got him this week on the Live. I played him for the Open. If he would have made some putts at the U.S. Open, he probably would have won. He played wonderful golf from tee to green and just could not buy a putt at Oakmont earlier this month. I think he's the second best player in the world, like I said, to Scheffler right now. He's won the Irish Open twice in his career, so he knows how to play links golf. I also played Tyrrell Hatton, who we recall, was right there with his hand practically on the trophy at the U.S. Open a couple weeks ago. I think he's in good form. He finished sixth here in 2019 at Portrush, and then a couple of longer bombs after that. A guy that is starting to kind of round back into form. And part of this is with my heart, too. I'm a big fan. I like to see when Jordan Spieth plays well. And he's won a British Open before in 2017. He's done well at other Open Championships in the past. And with that game coming around, maybe the timing is right. The other guy I played who we saw do well at the U.S. Open, we saw him do very well last week at the Travelers Championship. He finished runner-up a couple years ago at the Open Championship, and that's the Australian Jason Day. I got Day at 80-1, Spieth at 50, Tyrrell Hatton at 30, and Rahm at 14. Those are the four plays I have in pocket right now for the Open Championship.
I definitely love some of those long shots you're throwing out, Otis. Are there any dark horses for maybe top 10 that you're looking at, Brady? Someone you think might be able to sneak in there for good value?
He's not a dark horse, but I don't think it's the worst bet in the world to play Scotty Scheffler to finish top 10. You're probably going to pay, I don't know what, maybe minus 500. You get a little bit better pricing, and you can see by his odds there. He's not plus 280, he's plus 380. I think there's a little bit more randomness with the British Open than there is just on a standard PGA Tour event. And we know Scotty, it's like clockwork. He finishes top 10 all the time. Cost some people some money last week at the Travelers when he didn't crack the top 5. But maybe that's a guy you look at. You got to lay a lot of wood. Maybe it's minus 500, but I don't know. It's like betting on Floyd Mayweather to win. It just seems to never disappoint you.
Yeah.
And the four guys I mentioned, I'll probably play Rahm for a top 10, and the rest of them I'll probably play for a top 20.
Brady, great job, man. As always, do appreciate a couple segments with you on this light sports night. Best of luck with the picks for this weekend with the Rocket Mortgage, and then obviously for the Open Championship as well. We'll do it again soon, no doubt. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Go John Rahm.
There you go. Hour number 2, baseball season over-unders coming up next.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't, but yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back. It is in-game live game day here on the grid. Hour number 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza. Scott and Joe Madden until 10 p.m. Eastern time. Watching a little baseball, a little WNBA. We got some CFL action. Going to get to some baseball over-unders. They have updated numbers on season win totals. We'll do that here in a sec, but let me update the scores. They're heading out to the top of the 7th inning. Mets shutting out the Atlanta Braves 2-0. I'm sitting at a Braves team total over and the over 26 and a half hits, runs, and errors, but it's not getting there, Joe. I got 2 runs, I got 8 combined hits and 1 error, so I'm sitting at 11. So let's maybe extra innings. We get this thing to extra innings, then maybe I'd have a shot at it, but otherwise it's my 3-team parlay of runs, hits, and errors is going to go up in smoke here. So unfortunately, let's start there before we get to our things here. Mets 2-0. I mean, I don't know if you want to lay 950 at plus 540 on the Braves. You want to grab them plus a run and a half, plus 174, and then the over under. Maybe this is the way to go. 3.5 in a 2-0 game, bottom 6. I mean, there's a lot of baseball left, and they're only asking to get 2 more runs. That's actually not a bad play, Joe. I like that, actually, a lot.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to look, Scott. That over 3.5 just stands out like a sore thumb. There's got to be a couple more runs. The Braves are having their struggles, but I expect at least 1 run out of them, and then I think we'll see the other out of the Mets. So the over 3.5 at minus 122. I couldn't touch it to the under. With already 2 runs at the bottom of the 6 here, we are going into the top of the 7th, though, so that is something to note. And if the Mets hold the lead, we won't get that bottom of the 9th, but I think there's a possibility of the Atlanta Braves at least putting 1 run. We just need 1 more out of the Mets.
Yeah. WNBA, the Fever actually trailed. No Caitlin Clark tonight. They trailed by 2, 77-75 to the LA Sparks, who are 4-11 and just lost to god-awful Chicago. Wow, this is a surprise. You could grab the Fever plus 250. They just scored, so LA's got the ball, knowing that the LA is up 2, but they have the ball. You could grab the Indiana plus 2.5 at plus 124. How much time is left, Scott? You got a minute left. Minute 2. A little surprised that, maybe because there's nothing else going on, but, I'm a little surprised they're actually offering the lines and money lines on this one. But 77-75, Joe, Sparks leading with a minute left. Going anywhere?
No, I wouldn't touch it because I did grab the Sparks plus the points coming into this. And one thing to know, Indiana does have Dallas on deck tomorrow. So this is their first night of a back-to-back. So I wouldn't be putting as much effort in for them. If with Dallas on deck tomorrow, they need to get that win tomorrow. So they're going to try here, but I wouldn't lay points with them. That's for sure.
Yeah, I grabbed Indiana minus the 4.5 before. I thought they would pull away even without Caitlin Clark, but this would be a bad loss for them. They'll fall to under 500 after getting a great win at Seattle on Tuesday, in which Clark really didn't play well. She scored 6 points, I think a career low for her. So they're more than just Caitlin Clark, but man, this will be a surprise. Got some points in our CFL game that we're keeping an eye on. Edmonton and Winnipeg, 7-6. I see Edmonton now leading. Winnipeg scored, I imagine, missed the extra points. And now Edmonton is Winnipeg is laying 8.5, just a tick down from the 10.5, over under 55.5. How's your SGP?
Yeah, it's been a great game so far. SGP, I don't have those stats. That's a really hard thing about betting the CFL. You don't get up-to-date numbers on those players for their rushing and receiving props. You kind of got to eye it and see what you think they've been able to do out there. I've seen both of these guys in action, but great to see Edmonton be the team to score first. Now, Scott, I was livid. We were talking with Brady, and I was watching the CFL game out the corner of my eye. We saw the Edmonton Elks line up second and 1. So they only had to go 1 yard. They pulled Trey Ford, the quarterback, out, put the backup quarterback, Cody Fajardo, in his place, and Cody Fajardo got that touchdown. That touchdown that we needed by Trey Ford out there for that long shot parlay to be able to hit. But it's great to see Edmonton be able to keep this tight thus far. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers did answer back with a nice passing touchdown out of Zach Calaro. So this total has crept up to 55.5. Original number was 51.5. I'm expecting it to still hit right like around that 55.5, like 56, 57 points. I wouldn't go much higher than that if your book has it at those numbers.
All right. Little lull in the action here. So how about some FanDuel? Joe has updated their win totals for these baseball teams, which is a beautiful thing. So I found 6-7 plays that I really like, some a little bit more than others, but let me throw them at you and throw them out there for the viewers, obviously, as well, and see if you get your thoughts on these. First up, Pittsburgh Pirates. They're 32-50. The over-under is 66.5. I like the under. They're 32-50, which means in order to get to 67 wins, they would have to go 35-45, 10 games under 500. I don't think, since they're 18 games under 500 the first half of the season, I don't think they're improving that much. I really don't. They can't win on the road. They got one of the worst road records in all of baseball. They can't buy a road win. They are on the road. They're like in the Colorado Rockies area, believe it or not. They're where are we here? 12-29, right? So they're not winning on the road. And then when you look at their home schedule, they have home series against the Mets difficult, Cardinals difficult, Dodgers difficult, Tigers difficult, and Cubs difficult. So even their home season, what's left of it is hard. So I don't know how they go even 35-45. 67 wins is not a lot of wins when you just overall, but I don't think I think they're losing 100 plus games. I like the under 66.5.
It's hard to take a team under that 66.5, Scott, but I hear you. That home record sticks out so bad for the Pittsburgh Pirates and the opponents they have on deck at home that I couldn't touch it. It would be the under or nothing. And because I just don't love the under bets in baseball, especially for those win totals, I just am going to stay off. But I don't blame anyone who takes it under that 66.5 because it totally makes sense. Like, this team can't buy a win out there on the road. So, and then with that hard home schedule, I don't see them being able to go over it.
Yeah. Baltimore, the Orioles, they're 34-46. They've given us a number of 73.5. Now, this is one of my better plays because they would have to go 40-42 in order to get to 74 wins. Basically 500 baseball. I don't see it. Listen, this is one of those lines, Joe, where the boys in Vegas thought Baltimore was going to be good, and they're just stubborn to think that, okay, they're not good. They're in last place in the AL East, and they got a difficult schedule. They're mediocre at home. They're only 17-25 on the road. I don't think that's a 500 baseball team all of a sudden. I'm going under 73.5.
No, and we keep seeing the struggles right out the Baltimore Orioles. Some games they come out and they're playing nice and strong, but the majority of these games, we're seeing them really struggle to get those bats to come to life. Gunnar Henderson isn't looking like the Gunnar Henderson that we saw out of him last season, and I just can't trust him to go over that number, Scott. So I think this is a really fair number here for the Baltimore Orioles to be able to stay under it. Even though I don't like betting unders, that's the way I'd go with this one.
Yeah, I just don't think they're going to get to 500, basically. So those are two. I got what? 1, 2, 3, 4. Got 5 more. I got 3 more unders and then 3 overs that we like. So little tease here. We won't get to those first. We got Mark Drumheller. He's going to come on next segment. We'll do a little NBA draft review with him, some CFL action, maybe a little UFC preview as well. But one good thing also about these is they do offer, FanDuel anyway, offers you a lot to put them in parlays. That's the old round robin parlay. All right, Mark Drumheller coming up next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know Sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups. My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, hour number 2. No changes so far with the baseball game. The one we got going on, still Mets leading it 2-0 as they bat in the bottom of the 7th inning. And my runs, hits, errors is a long ways from cash. So we'll put that aside for a second, and let's talk a little CFL. We got a little UFC this weekend, and we got obviously the NBA draft going on right now. So let's welcome in our good buddy, betting analyst, on-air host at FantasyLife.com. That is Mark Drumheller, who you see it here all the time here on the grid. Mark, Scott, and Joe, this time last year, Mark, we'll start with a little NBA. We were wondering if LeBron James's kid was going to get drafted, which, as we found out, he was. I don't know if we have a storyline like that or not in today's second round, but your overall assessments of the draft and any surprises today before we get to yesterday, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, not much on today. Like, really, the second round. I mean, these teams give away these second round picks like they're burning their fingers. Like, they don't, and it just kind of tells you, like, the fact that they have the whole day dedicated to it, to me, is a little, strange. But I think overall, draft wise, it was really kind of the focus was on a lot of the teams that are rebuilding or retooling. Like, you looked at, what the Suns did, in the draft, and, the obviously Brooklyn. With 5 first-round picks, just really kind of like retooling and starting from scratch. And, the key is, though, with these teams is, from a betting perspective, when we start looking at like, hey, win totals and things like that, when these teams are retooling like that, it's really not what they do initially to get that process started. It's can they make that second jump? And I think, the Detroit Pistons are a perfect example of that. They went out and got Cade Cunningham in the draft, and they were rebuilding, and then you saw them take a step back, and now they take a step forward. Orlando Magic is a team that I think, getting Jace Richardson, I think is going to be huge for them because it's really going to improve their three-point shooting. They're a team that a lot of people like in what's now a wide open East. I mean, you don't know really what Boston's doing, trading Holiday, trading Porzingis, not going to have Tatum next year. So they're kind of a wild card. So I think the East is really where bettors should be, focusing their attention because that's really the wide open race.
Okay, I wanted to quickly ask you about Cooper Flag here. For the Dallas Mavericks, we're already starting to see tons of props coming out for him. How much of an impact do you think he does bring to this Dallas Mavericks team, and how much of an adjustment do you think it's going to be for him to come into the NBA? They've got a prop right now on FanDuel for him to record a triple-double once in the season. It's coming in at -120, so there's juice on it, but are you expecting him to hit the ground running?
I am. I mean, I think he's going to be really successful to start. I think, he comes into a great spot, in Dallas. And the key, I think, what people need to watch out for is just kind of read the tea leaves. Like, how much are they going to let him handle the ball? Are they going to let him, really, run the offense there? How much, is he going to have an impact that way? And then you can kind of get into, we were talking about triple doubles and things like that. So as his role gets a little more clearly defined, or as we can kind of see how he's going to fit in on the court, I think that's going to go a long way. But I think they have to let him loose. I mean, he's the number 1 pick. I think they have to really, focus on his development this year. They're not going to contend out in the West. To me, the West is really probably a 2-team race. I mean, it's Oklahoma City, everybody's chasing, and they're not going anywhere soon. And I really think the dark horse team to watch out for, maybe not so much a dark horse now, is Houston with Durant. Getting KD in a strong culture, with Ime and that type of team that's defensive, that really, when playoff time came, they really needed that person that could create their own offense, that type of score. KD brings all that, and I think he finally is in a position where he can really kind of, make that really try and carry a team towards a championship if he can stay healthy. So I really think the West comes down to those two teams. But as far as Flag and Dallas, like, they just got to let them go, man. You got to find out what you got.
Yeah. Did anything, maybe that's the answer to the question at Houston, but Mark, has anything happened either draft-wise or trade-wise that for a team that makes you say, wow, you know what, I know I got to sit on this bet for a year, but let me make it now because I don't think this number is going to be this way, come start of the season, and I really do like this team.
Yeah, I think in the West it is Houston. I think you look at them, I think they're 9-1, to win the whole thing. And the way I was kind of talking about the East to start off and how I talk about the West, I think you can kind of tell, like, there's really no sense in playing Houston to win the West at 5-1 because I do think that the teams in the West are going to be a lot stronger than the East this year. You just look at the odds boards with the East. Cleveland, how they struggle in the playoffs. We don't know what's going on with Boston. The Knicks, they got to find somebody that wants to coach them. I mean, that's turned into a disaster, for them, so it's like, I don't know what's going on with that, but so you just kind of go down the East and it's really wide open. Orlando, young up and coming team. Are they going to make a leap? If they are they going to be able to contend with an OKC or Houston in the finals? I don't think so. So I'll play Houston just to win the whole thing at 9-1. I think that's where the value's at. And then you can see how things kind of unfold in the East. I wouldn't count out Boston, even though they don't have Tatum. I'm a Missoula guy, and I think that, Brad Stevens, bring in, they drafted a kid, was Hugo Gonzalez. I think he's a guy that needs to improve his shooting, but he can do all the intangibles that they like there. They make the big trade for Simons. He's going to bring 3-point shooting to them. They want to space the floor. They want to shoot. So, what they do with Jaylen Brown, what still happens in the offseason, are they done? A lot remains to be seen, but in a wide open East, Boston, I think they're like 5-1. So, that might be worth a stab.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a crazy time right now with more trades we know that will be coming. But let's quickly turn to some CFL. We got a game in progress right now. The Edmonton Elks taking on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We just did see another touchdown out of the Blue Bombers. They were able to get that extra point. The Edmonton Elks did get a field goal as well. So this is a 13-10 game here. We've got a live total. It's fired all the way up to 60.5. Mark, where'd you go going into this one, and what do you like now?
Yeah, going in, I played Edmonton's team total under 20.5, which doesn't look great right now. My line of thinking was just that I thought that Winnipeg would be able to control the ball on the ground. And really just, I think these teams are essentially equal on the stat sheet. When you look at yards per play, only separated by like a quarter of a yard. You look at yards per game, very similar. So I thought it would be a competitive game, but I think now with this live total shooting up, I would kind of like slow it down, maybe play the under.
All right, Mark, hold the line. More questions from Mark Drumheller coming up next.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches. And it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't. But, yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe talk with Mark Drumheller at fantasylife.com, betting analyst and host as well, podcast and the whole kit and caboodle. So we left off with the CFL. I will update things baseball-wise. First up, Mets scored a couple of more, so now leading 4-0, bottom of the 7th inning. They had a runner on. Nice little third baseman play. Every once in a while you see a play that makes you realize, wow, these guys are good in the majors. And that's what he did, a little short hop. So top of the 8th they go. I need 10 more hits, runs, and errors to complete my over 26.5. It's not happening. We're running out of innings. So, Mark, we left at Winnipeg 13-10, and then we kind of cut you off there in the end, but you were saying how which way you're going to go right now. It's a little locked up right now, but more points you think are going to be scored in this game?
I still think it's going to slow down a little bit. Like, this
Okay.
Edmonton offense not great all year, and so I would probably look to the under. I just think, the Winnipeg defense, things are going to tighten up. I think it's a close game. It's probably going to be a competitive game throughout. So, Edmonton bettors are probably feeling good about the points that they have in this one. But, when I look at the game, I just think that it's going to slow down. As I say, that Winnipeg's launching like a 50-yard touchdown down the field. So that's not going to. Speaking of devil,
it was going to slow down after that touchdown. That's what
yeah. They'll have to grind the clock out now. Now that they got the lead, hopefully they sit on it for 2.5 quarters. But so Winnipeg up now looks like 19-10. A little bit of separation. So we'll see how Edmonton responds in that one.
Yeah, Edmonton's going to have to respond in a big way.
But how did you become a CFL fan? I know you live here in the States, so what gravitated you to CFL?
Oh, me?
Yeah,
it's football. Yeah, so it's football's on. If it's football, I'm in. I used to follow. I'll tell you what. I used to follow the the secondary leagues, like the UFL and the XFL, when they first reopened. Like I think it was like 2020. In that area, there were some huge edges. Like if you were following it, there were just some massive edges. Right. But and I used to play those, but I haven't played in 2 years. And I kind of just moved on to the CFL because they kind of the way they run it runs through March Madness, and it just became too much. So I just kind of put the pause on football until we get to the summer, and now this kind of helps get me ready for September.
Absolutely. There's 3 more games this weekend, with one tomorrow, one Saturday, and actually a Sunday game this week. Anything that you've already got bets ready for us in?
Yeah, I'm thinking about playing Montreal, laying the short number tomorrow, and also probably the under 48.5. We know Alexander's banged up. He's really been the story for the Alouettes offense. Is the hamstring going to last? If they play, I know they have Bethel Thompson as backup. You think it's not going to be a huge drop off, but how football is. It's all about consistency. It's all about continuity. So we don't know that for a fact, but you look at the Montreal defense, they tied with Saskatchewan with 10 sacks, tied with BC for 7 tackles for loss. So they're going to bring the defense in that matchup. And I just think offensively, the way they've been scoring points throughout the first couple of weeks, they're at the top of the market from a team total perspective, right? So that's only going to come down, I feel like. And I think this is a pretty good spot. They're playing a hungry Hamilton team that needs a win. I don't think Hamilton can win, but I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. Hamilton's offense, they throw the ball like crazy. They've been pretty lopsided as far as run-pass ratio, and it hasn't been successful. Passing game, 3rd least efficient in the CFL. So I think there's just a lot of factors that tell me that this could be an ugly one. Montreal, 3rd straight road game. So you look at that, you have a favorite playing 3 games on the road in a row. They might not come out as sharp as you would think. And all those things just kind of point me to it being a little sloppy, lower scoring game where neither team's clicking on all cylinders. So I think the under 48.5 is pretty solid.
Quick little comment on UFC 317 this weekend in Las Vegas. Who do you like?
Yeah, so this is a good one. I think there's value in the main event on Charles Oliveira, and I'm kind of on an island on this one. Ilia Topuria, they're kind of crowning him as the next, superstar. But this is a spot here when you look at the odds. Oliveira just plus 380, getting a champion at this kind of number. I think it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I like where you're going there. Outside of the main fight, is there anything else on the main card or the prelim card that you're looking at?
Yeah, the co-main event, I did take Alexandra Pantoja on the money line at minus 250. I think Kai Kara France is a guy who's been to these title fights, hasn't delivered. I don't think he's got a chance here. 7 straight wins for Pantoja. I think he makes it 8.
Mark, great job, man. I do appreciate it on this quiet night. You stopping by and spending a couple segments with us. Check out all his work at fantasylife.com. Fantasylife.com. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't, but yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, hour number 2. Thanks again, Mark Drumheller. Check out the work at fantasylife.com, which is fantasy as far as baseball and football and all that other stuff. Not the other kind of fantasy, but fantasylife.com, host and betting analyst. Before we get ourselves into trouble, Joe, update on the baseball and the football, the 2 games. Well, and actually WNBA too. When I saw fantasy, when you see Fantasy Life, it's like, okay, but then you realize it's sports fantasy. Let's see, still, right? You never know. You never know.
See, I think Beach Hut, a nice glass of white wine, and all the games playing on the TV. That's what I think when I think Fantasy Life. So
there you go, and a betting app that you could make sure you get all your bets.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah. 4-0 Mets, bottom 8. You grab the Braves plus 3.5. Then now it's locked, but it was plus 390. I think we're going to get maybe a pitching change, possibly. Over under 4.5. Boy, the Braves are just not. They're not a good team, Joe. I watched this series. I had done pretty well with it. I had the over Met team total, then the over Braves team total, and back and forth. I hit all three, and today I was going with the Braves team total. So I watched a lot of this series. Boy, this Braves team just can't hit. They just. You understand why they're where they are, and I don't think it's going to turn around. I really don't. But being shut out, not bad. You take 2 out of the 4, but you had a chance to really, dominate this series. You took the first 2, but it looks like they're going to lose the last 2.
Yeah, and it's disappointing for them here, right? But Scott, one thing that did cash, if you took that over 3.5 at minus 122 to the over,
That's right.
the Mets got both of
did.
those runs themselves, so that was nice to see.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right. So cha-ching on that one. LA did beat Indiana 85-75. I'm surprised. I know no Caitlin Clark. I get that, but still 160 was your total. So that went under the number. That number was in the 170s. Then they announced that Clark wasn't going to start or play. And then it still dropped into like 166 or 165 in that range. And it didn't even come close. So Indiana was leading. They had let's say they lost by 10. They had an 8-point lead heading into the fourth quarter. So they fall to 7-8. Sparks improved to 5-11. Yeah, Mystics and Aces. Next game up, Joe. We'll touch on that before we get to our baseball over-unders again. Mystics 7-8. Aces 7-7. I have Washington in my SGP, so I think they're going to cover. They're coming off the win against Minnesota. They won 2 in a row. They beat the Lynx, which was 12-1 at the time, 68-64. Maybe a little letdown spot here, but I like to play on teams that are playing well. Washington is. I don't know if they win outright. It wouldn't surprise me, but I do like them plus the 7.
Okay, I'm so glad you're going there because I'm with you on Washington plus the points tonight. I'm seeing 9s out there right now on FanDuel, Scott, and I absolutely love it. We look at Vegas. They are playing on the second night of a back-to-back. They faced the Connecticut Sun last night. So it's not like they had a huge game last night, not coming off that big one, but I do think here versus Washington, the Washington Mystics will just keep it tight. So I'll take them plus the points. I'm not going to take the money line either, though. Okay, so that's where I'm going to go. Things are really heating up for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers right now. I was just looking at my TV, and they have seemed to try to turn a corner right now against the Edmonton Elks. They're still leading this one 20-10, but I'm seeing they're 2nd and 7. So I'm not sure if they were able to get a takeaway there and get that ball away from Trey Ford. If the interception did come into play, I'm going to have to keep you guys updated on that. But things are not looking good for Edmonton after getting off to a hot start. We did see Edmonton open up the scoring in this one, and now we're really seeing Winnipeg turn it on. We know this team is so strong, and the last time the Edmonton Elks did beat them was back in 2018. But I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the scheduling spot, and I think scheduling in the CFL is huge, and you always need to look at it. You've seen the Winnipeg Blue Bombers only play 2 games because they did have a bye out there in week 1. Now, those 2 games in week 2 and week 3, it was at home versus the BC Lions and then out there on the road versus the BC Lions, which they were able to win both. But then what we see looking ahead for this team is I thought this would be a letdown spot. Now, we'll see if Edmonton can get back in this game, at least be able to cover plus the points for our same game parlay. But Edmonton yet to win. They took a loss 31-14 to the BC Lions in week 1. They then went on a bye. And then in week 3 coming out, losing to Montreal. Now Montreal, the Alouettes, one of the best teams in the CFL currently. Their defense is strong. They held the first 3 quarters, the Edmonton Elks, to basically no points. They had a couple points on the board rolling into that fourth, and people can say it was kind of garbage time points in that fourth quarter, but I really liked what Trey Ford was able to put together with some of the runs. And then looking at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers schedule. So now they've got these 2 games under their belt. They face now Edmonton off of 2 big games versus the BC Lions. And then we look ahead to the schedule. And I tell you, this isn't fair for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So they faced BC twice. They will then go on the road next Thursday, so another short week, and they'll face the Calgary Stampeders. So that's week 5. Then they have week 6 off. And then in week 7, they're at home versus the Calgary Stampeders. So again, a team they're going to face 2 games in a row. They do have that bye right in between, facing them to make some adjustments if they do struggle in that first game at Calgary. But then we look after week 7, they face the Toronto Argos. They face them for week 8 and week 9. So they'll have those struggles there. And then in week 10, guess who they face? They face the Calgary Stampeders again. So they've got 2 teams over their next, 3-4 games back to back to back. So it's a really hard spot for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You could see those issues coming to play for them. And this Edmonton team needs to start putting things together. So we're going to see if we can see them get something done as this one wraps up here. We've got another half, Scott. I think Edmonton can get back into this game. They just can't let it get too out of control.
Yeah, do like the points, though. You mentioned earlier that you thought you were going to get some points in this game, and I know Barker earlier said he didn't think it would continue, but you know what? The way these 2 teams are going right now, 30 points, I'll take the over 33.5, and you're kind of got an overtime score where it's not anything crazy, a 10-point differential. So I'll grab the over 63.5 and go double down kind of on what we put in earlier today. We were talking also, Joe, about over-unders. Baseball FanDuel offers up some season updated over-under win totals. So we talked Pittsburgh. We like the under 66.5 because I don't think they're going to go 35-45 the rest of the way. Love the under Baltimore 73.5. They would have to go 40-42 the rest of the way. And they're 12 games under 500 right now. I don't think that's happening. Another one I like is, it's a little dicey, but it is the White Sox. It's 52.5. They're 26-55, 29 games under 500. In order to get to 53 wins, they would have to go 27-54. Not impossible, obviously. I mean, that's not obviously a good record. But this White Sox team, we saw that they were in almost an exact same spot last year, Joe. And last year's second half of the season, as bad as their first half was, they completely fell apart. They won like 10 games. I don't know if that same thing is going to happen, but I don't see them going even 27-54. I would take a stab at the under 52.5.
Yeah, the one thing that sticks out to me is that win that they just had over the Toronto Blue Jays. So if they get teams in situations where teams are overlooking them, we could see them get those wins, Scott. But this is a hard team to ask to be able to trust an over in, and I would only take it to the under as well. So great point on the Chicago White Sox. You look at another road record out there, 9-32 out there on the road, and their home record's not even like it's okay. It's not great though. They're not above 500. They're 17-23 at home as well.
Yeah. How about the Yankees? Over-under is 94.5. They're 46-34. They'd have to go 49-33. I think with the AL East maybe being locked up, they'll call off the Dogs. I don't think they go 49-33. That's a real good record. I like the under there as well.
Great record, but I can't bet against the Yankees. The only way I'd take their win total is to the over. I'm not stepping in front of them.
Yep. Got 3 more. We'll talk to those with Cam Stewart, who comes up next here on the Grid.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Oklahoma City now becomes one of 4 NBA teams ever, one of 3 NBA champs ever to win at least 84 total regular season and postseason games.
It's just the beginning, Ben, and you just look at a team with, these guys at such a young age, and You know, Chet's got a team option. Ismail Dieng has a team option. Jalen Williams team option. Keyshawn Wallace team option. Hey, man, they're all coming back.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We are seeing unbelievable temperature surges over the past couple days. So I wanted to ask you this question to let the people know, like, how do we account for that in our handicapping? Like, 2 good pitchers on the mound, but you look at a place like Wrigley Field, let's just say, 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out, 90-plus degree temperatures. Is it almost like you say to yourself, you just have to fade the environment and not worry about the pitchers? Because if we're hitting fly balls, they're going yard.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
As we know, it's just we enter every year and it's, is this the Ravens' time? Is this Lamar Jackson's turn? Can they get past the Chiefs and all of these other, stalwarts of the AFC? But it's always really about Kansas City when we're talking Baltimore.
This potentially, Adam, as I send it back to you, potentially is a game changer in that you get a very talented quarter at a discount price.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, hour number 2. Just keeping an eye on the baseball. Quick little update down to the final out. 4-0 Mets over the Braves. Boy, I just counted it up as we welcome in Cam Stewart, who takes over top of the hour along with Gabe Morency. Cam, this will be the 17th time the Braves have scored 1 run or less this year in 80 games. In basically a quarter of their games, they're scoring 1 run or less. And this team can't hit. You talk about the Rockies and the Pittsburgh Pirates and making fun of them. This Braves team is pathetic offensively. What's going
they're
on, my
toast,
friend?
Scott. They're toast. I'm hanging in there, Scott. Trying to get channels. My TV's on the fritz too, but my internet works. I don't get it. All I know is this: the Braves, they're toast. Mets are better, and the Philadelphia Phillies are way better. So, I look at that division and say, you know what? It's good, but I don't know. This team's you're actually right, Scott. It's shocking. You look up and down their lineup, you're like, how do you guys not get, there's good hitters on that team, but that's the whole problem with the Braves is they're just a bad team to bet on. What do we got going on right now? I'm looking at Major League Baseball. There's not much left. Are we going to start betting on this Buffalo Bisons, Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs game? I like over 21.5. What else do we got here? The Omaha Storm Chasers against see what I'm saying, Joe? We got the Louisville Bats versus the St. Paul Saints, and I was just, it's locked. Okay, I don't know what we're going to do right here, but football tonight, Joe. Are you betting this Canadian Football League? Maybe we'll get Wetzel into some 3-down football.
Yeah, I of course went with the Edmonton Elks plus the points with the sprinkle on the money line. Just looking at Winnipeg's schedule, Cam, their schedule is insane. How they go back to back with so many teams. The BC Lions for those 2 games, now Edmonton. Then they've got 2 versus Calgary, then 2 versus Toronto, then another 1 versus Calgary. Who made the schedule for Winnipeg? What don't they like about this team?
Well, they've been in the Grey Cup for a while. They've been league dominant for a long time. So you know what? I'm not going to feel sorry for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Joe. But you're right; it's not good. There's other teams that need help, but right now it's locked, and I see Winnipeg's up 13. Joe, what do we know about the Edmonton Elks? They'll get garbage points at the end. So it's kind of like one of those live bet. Once it gets unlocked, I would look at them. I'm with you. I bet them at 11, and they're down 13 right now. So we'll see what happens there. Scott, I guess are we doing tennis tonight? What do we got here?
How about men's volleyball, USA versus Canada? I don't know what tournament that is, but we got that. USA's a 40 to 1
USA's
favorite.
minus 4,000. I'm gonna have to say no. I get Canada at 16 to 1. Yeah, no. Do I get can I get a spread? They'll not lose this many points in for each set, but no, that's not even available, right? Cricket, Los Angeles Knight Riders versus Washington Freedom. Tough game.
Right. How about some golf? We didn't talk to you yesterday. We had the NBA draft, right? We got 2 guys at 10 under par. Who should we be playing from here on out?
Interesting, Scott. Great tournament so far there's no weather, and these guys are just ripping this course apart. There was absolutely no wind. Potgieter, I'll tell you a story about this guy from South Africa. He's the biggest hitter on tour, like him and Rory McIlroy. And Potgieter, if he opens it up, he's basically the best driver of the golf ball. He averages, Scott, 324.9 yards off the tee, and that's including shots with rough and stuff like that. So you want to talk about a big hitter? What can he do? Can he putt or can he chip? Today, he had the putter rolling. His chipping was a little bit suspect, or else he would have. Basically, these guys they shot a course record today. It started off with 9 under, and then the other guys at 10 under beat it. So Kevin, no, don't call me Patrick Roy. He's Roy, not Waugh. Kevin Roy and Potgieter, they set a course record here in Detroit. They just murdered this course today. I'm not going to say the tournament's going to end at 36 under par, but I wouldn't be shocked if we got like a 24, 26. Like if there's no conditions here and it's like a little, and they're predicting rain on this course, these guys are going to be like absolutely pin hunting. Like it's going to be stupid. So find a guy that can go low with birdies. I don't know what to do now. Grayserman was the guy that I talked about. I have him in my top 10s and 20s. He's the favorite on FanDuel right now, which is really interesting because he's been close before, but he hasn't really closed the deal. We'll look at a couple other guys for you guys, but I'll tell you something. A lot of guys are in contention here. This is the whole thing about this tournament, Scott and Joe. We've had winners at 90-1 last year. Nate Lashley won at 250-1. So if you're looking for a bomb, it's a birdie paradise. So this is the type of tournament where you don't have to take a guy at 15, 20 under. And Colin Morikawa was the chalk. He's 3 under, and he's losing major strokes to the field. That's the whole thing. Like right now, these guys are going so low. But we'll see. Right now, out of all those guys, I like Grayserman, but I got him at like 45, 50. I don't got him at 75-1. So it's something that I'm looking at, but we'll see, Scott. And we got to see what the conditions are. But if this thing rains a little bit of drizzle and it's hot, these guys are going to murder this course. The course has no defenses.
Cam, do you ever play the big guns versus a field kind of prop bets out there? Because Morikawa, Cantlay, Griffin, or Hall to win is plus 370. Would you look at something like that? I just threw that one out at you because you mentioned Morikawa, and he's not listed in many of the other ones.
Could you name those guys again?
Morikawa, Cantlay, Griffin, or Hall.
Out of all those guys, the only guy I think can win is Ben Griffin. Patrick Cantlay could be close, but I would rather take the other side. But the problem is, if you're saying that's plus 3 and change, the other side is what, minus 400? Is that what it is?
Yeah, FanDuel's not giving me anything on the other side.
I'm going to tell you, if the field's anything under minus 600, I would put it in every single parlay. You're getting the whole field against those guys. Morikawa just changed his caddy. He's in orbit. Patrick Cantlay, guy takes 20 minutes to line up a putt with his stupid waddle. All these other guys, Harry Hall, yeah, he's good. But you know what I mean? There's so many other guys in the field. We're looking at like 165 guys. I would actually think, you know what I'm saying, Scott? Like, look at the math. We're getting those guys at plus 350. This isn't Scotty Scheffler. This isn't Tiger Woods in his prime. These are like regular dudes. And you're giving me that number with a couple favorites? No way. The field is the play, but do you really want it? It's a parlay piece. You can't lay like minus 550 or anything like that, right? So you put it in a parlay. I guarantee I would take the field. That's probably the best bet out there if I got a better number.
All right. There you go. Cam and Gabe, top of the hour. They got golf. They got a little baseball. Maybe they got some men's volleyball as well. We'll see how.
Well, I don't know what Gabe's got up his sleeve. Some soccer tournament in somewhere, in some foreign land. We'll be there.
Probably. All right. Thanks, Cam.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Oklahoma City now becomes one of 4 NBA teams ever, one of 3 NBA champs ever, to win at least 84 total regular season and postseason games.
It's just the beginning, Ben, and you just look at a team with these guys at such a young age, and Chet's got a team option. Ismail Dieng has a team option. Jalen Williams team option. Keyshawn Wallace team option. Hey, man, they're all coming back.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We are seeing unbelievable temperature surges over the past couple days. So I wanted to ask you this question to let the people know, how do we account for that in our handicapping? Two good pitchers on the mound, but you look at a place like Wrigley Field, let's just say, 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out, 90-plus degree temperatures. Is it almost like you say to yourself, you just have to fade the environment and not worry about the pitchers? Because if we're hitting fly balls, they're going yard.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
As we know, it's just we enter every year and it's, is this the Ravens' time? Is this Lamar Jackson's turn? Can they get past the Chiefs and all of these other, stalwarts of the AFC? But it's always really about Kansas City when we're talking Baltimore.
This potentially, Adam, as I send it back to you, potentially is a game changer in that you get a very talented quarter at a discount price.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Again, thanks to Cam Stewart joining us as he always does at the 9:44 mark Eastern Time. Cam and Gabe at the top of the hour. They'll take you over the next two. So all the other stuff is, it's over. No baseball. So we're going over some of the over-unders. Gave out 4 unders that we liked. Under Pittsburgh, under Baltimore, under White Sox, under Stankies. I got 3 overs, Joe, that I'm keeping an eye on. And this one, if I had to pick one, this would be the one. Texas, over 80.5. Well, I tell you what, they've been a disappointment. They really have. They can't hit their way out of a paper bag, but they're 40-41, which means they would have to go 41-40 to go over the 80.5. They got 43 games left at home, only 38 on the road, so 5 more home games than road games. They got 22 games left against Washington, Miami, Athletics, Angels, and Baltimore. I mean, there's no Colorado in there, I'll grant you that, or no White Sox. But other than those 2 teams, boy, those are some of the worst teams in all of baseball. I don't know how this team, and they should get healthier, I don't know how they don't go 41-40. As bad as the first half of the season was, and it was horrible, they still played basically 500 baseball. I really like the over 80.5 with Texas.
I think they can get there too, Scott. You just got to worry if their bats continue to stay silent like this. I don't think we're going to see them be able to get over. If they're winning low scoring games, I think they're going to have those struggles there. But we know this is a team that has had hot bats, and I do think they can get back there. So I'd take the over as well.
All right, Red Sox over 80.5. It's not a homer pick. It isn't. But they're 40-42 right now. They've lost 5 in a row. You're buying low. You want to sell high, buy low, right? Like a stock. That's what you're doing right now on Boston. This team was 5 games over 500 not that long ago and playing good baseball. I know they haven't settled in on the Rafi Devers trade, but they only need to go 41-39 the rest of the way. They have 18 games left against Colorado, Washington, Miami, and the Athletics. I mean, listen, Boston is more than capable of losing all those games. I get that. But that's almost 20 games, 18 games against, 4 of the worst teams in all of baseball this side of the White Sox. I think they do go 41-39. I like that over 80.5.
Well, yeah, and they probably pick up a couple wins right away because they take on the Toronto Blue Jays starting in that series tomorrow, and I think they will have the upper hand there. So I would trust them to go over that number. They need to get things a little bit stronger at home, Scott. They're sitting 18-25, on the road, while they're 22-17 at home. So I think they can get there for sure.
Yeah. Last one, New York Mets, over 92.5, at least it was before tonight's win. They're now 48-34, so they need to go 45-35 the rest of the way in order to get to the 93 wins. They're unbeatable at home. They got 12 road games, so they're going to do well at home. one of the best home records in all of baseball. On the road, they got 12 road games against Miami, Washington, Pittsburgh, and Kansas City. Now, 12's not a lot, I'll grant you that, but that's 4 3-game series that even the Mets struggling on the road should be able to hold their own. They're battling for the division. They're going to want to win every single game all the way down the stretch, right? Whether it's for a playoff spot or whether it's for the division win, unlike the Yankees, who might be calling off the dogs a little bit. So, I think the Mets are a good team. I think I'm going to go over 92.5. I think they go 45 and 35 the rest of the way.
Now, does it worry you at all without Griffin Canning in the lineup? Because we don't know how bad that injury was tonight for him. Would that change your mind at all, Scott?
Oh God, no! If anything, I would double my bet. He stinks. It's Griffin Canning. I mean, that might be the best thing that happened, addition by subtraction. The guy's pitched well. He's 7-3, but he's given up a ton of runs his last 3 starts. I mean, if he can't cut it with the LA Angels, right? I mean, his true colors are starting to show. God bless him for getting the 7 wins, but no, I'm not worried about Griffin Canning. And the Mets, Joe, have an owner that's obviously willing to spend money. So if they're battling for a playoff spot come July 31st, trade deadline, he's going to be willing to add some players. So this might not be the final New York Mets team that we're talking about for the rest of the way. So, like I said, 14 games over 500 now. They need to go 10 more the rest of the way. I think they do. I like that one. So I really like the overs, maybe a little bit more than the unders, Mets, Red Sox, and Rangers. But I like them all, and I definitely love the under Baltimore. If I had to pick one, under Baltimore and over Rangers might be my 2 favorites. So, Joe, great job as always. Yeah, we'll do it again tomorrow. Cam and Gabe coming up next right here on the grid.
It'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do